Think about that. The greatest gift I've ever received. When Michael Deaver told me that story, he broke out in tears. And I tear up when I tell that story. It may not mean that much to you, you know. It tells everything to me about the disease of alcoholism and what recovery can mean. Michael Deaver was a broken man. He had lost everything. He was indicted, by the way, after he left the White House, because he no longer had the protection of the White House. He was indicted and convicted. His life was in shatters, and yet he found his way into recovery and was able to redeem and reclaim his life in this simple way by apologizing to a man he had spent 25 years with. And Reagan graciously, in the most remarkable way, not only forgave him, but told him how much that Michael had meant to him. And so he shared that story with me. He said he had never shared that story before. It's in this book that I've written, Second Chances, and it's a wonderful example of what recovery is all about, and how blessed the people that I have been able to interview, how blessed they are, how much they have shared with me, and how fortunate those among us that suffer from this disease are to have found our way into recovery. I see my time is up. I thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you today, and I'm open for any questions. Sure. Yes.
Because of your experience with a lot of people that are noted in various areas and the type of books you've written, there are a lot of people that are alcoholics today due to the stresses that are of a stature. They've lost position, they've lost finances and such. Mm-hmm. And they're not as open to, because of their ego, of course, and position, not as open to getting treatment in the standard ways Alcoholics Anonymous. How and what do you recommend for those of us that are trying to help people that, you know, they're embarrassed and they don't associate themselves with what they think an alcoholic is? Mm. So what sort of programs and methods do you recommend, since I'm sure you've been surrounded with that?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. Alcoholism is called the disease of denial. It's a disease that tells you you don't have a disease. You know, I got hit on the head so many times with my disease, and I would always find an excuse that it was your fault. I had a bad break. It's just there's so much denial. The one thing and I get asked that question a lot. I speak a lot, and I get asked that question a lot that you've just posed. How can I help somebody else? It's the most heartbreaking question that I have to deal with. The truth is, until somebody wants help, you really can't do anything. There's lots of help out there for people who want it, but unfortunately you can't make somebody want help.
But is there something that is a little more private than Alcoholics Anonymous, or that obviously these people, a lot of them have lost their money, so they can't afford some of the big expensive programs, but are there any recommendations?
Well, there's all kinds of private. There are many therapists now who are expert in dealing with alcoholics and alcoholism, and I would guide someone towards an individual therapist if that's what. Alcoholics Anonymous is just a wonderful organization. If you can in any way get somebody to try Alcoholics Anonymous, even on a trial basis, it's a remarkable program. And what happens in Alcoholics Anonymous is you get to identify with people like you. I thought I was unique. There was nobody that had the kind of problems that I had. Nobody suffered the way I had when I went down the toilet. I didn't think anybody felt like I did. I walked into an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. I was surrounded by people that not only felt like I had, but had this great sense of humor and love and compassion for each other. Michael Deaver actually said something to me that I'll never forget. You know, he said that talking to a non-alcoholic, there's no way to explain to another alcoholic, to a non-alcoholic, what this disease is. But to another alcoholic, no explanation is necessary. When one alcoholic talks to another, we know the kind of pain that you feel, the kind of suffering, the kind of degradation that you feel. So you need to put him in front of another alcoholic, to, at least in my estimation, in order for that recovery, for him to become aware that there is that kind of recovery. So if you can get him to, but again, he's got to want to stop. And if he doesn't, people do it always for the often for the wrong reasons. They're doing it to save a marriage. They're doing it because their boss, they're going to lose their job. These are not the right reasons. You got to do it because you understand that you got a disease that you're going to die from unless you get some help. So unfortunately, some people have to go way down before they recognize that. Yes. Oh.
Oh, hi. Wasn't Nancy Reagan was down on somebody in the White House? I thought, and memory tells me that it was Michael Deaver. Is that wrong? She was very critical of someone at that time.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Number two. I think it's wonderful that there is, if you have an organization that is bringing this into the spotlight, because AA has always been, it's anonymous, so there isn't much advertising.
Yeah.
So that's terrific.
Where Alcoholics Anonymous is called a program of attraction, not promotion. We don't go out and promote Alcoholics Anonymous at the level of press, radio, and films, but we can talk to people like you and talk about, and what we do is use ourselves as an example.
Oh,
I'm not promoting the organization. I'm just telling you that.
It's affected my life too.
Yeah, well, good. It's a wonderful organization. But, in the early days, we were very fearful. Alcoholics Anonymous were very fearful of the shame that we would, and the disdain that we would encounter as a result of coming forward and saying we were alcoholics. We were afraid of scaring people away by admitting we were alcoholics. It's a different world today, and we need to come forward and say that we're alcoholics and that, look at us, we're okay today. Yes.
With the 12-step, do you want help? Do you want help now? Do you have a problem? Do you want help? And do you want help now? And without 3 yeses, you may as well talk about baseball. But what I'm finding is that there's a wonderful, people are finding recovery much, much younger.
Yeah.
I mean, tremendous number of people who will never, hopefully, never experience a legal drink. And they're being saved from a lot of the pain that we've gone through. Do you have much experience with that and where that might be going for the future?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Because there's so many more of us and there's so much more information out there, and younger people are finding their way. Alcoholics Anonymous originally was made up of what they refer to as low-bottom drunks. You had to go really very far down the ladder in order to come forward and find a way into recovery in the old days when Alcoholics Anonymous first was formed. Since then, there's been so much information disseminated about alcoholism, and that we're preventing people from going down the drain now by catching it at a younger and younger age and an earlier and earlier time. One of the things that we promote is that you don't have to be, somebody who's totally consumed by alcohol now to find a way of recovery. Has alcohol become a problem in your life? It may not have consumed you, but you can see the writing on the wall. If you see the writing on the wall, why don't you stop now before you go out? We use ourselves as examples. You don't have to go this far. You can stop now.
The writing on the wall, my daughter's in recovery and has like 4 years, but she said something really insightful, which is Facebook and the social media is really bringing kids into recovery, because we used to be able to get away with stuff. What happened on Friday night, no one else would find out about. You do something on Friday night, there are pictures of how you behaved on Facebook Saturday morning. So what the ability to hide those secrets has gotten shorter and shorter, and that's one of the reasons they're getting into recovery so fast. They can't get away with it like we did.
Thank you.
Just as a kind of a follow-up, there's a wonderful companion organization to AA and those programs, and it's called
Al-Anon?
Al-Anon. Duh. And I've been a member of Al-Anon for quite a number of years, that is really a way that you can learn to make sure keep your own life together. In many ways, you help the addicted person, because what you end up doing is you detach with love, and you quit trying to save them and let them hit their bottom, whatever that bottom is going to be. And because that's where it's going to start. And it's very interesting. I was married to an alcoholic for a very short period of time. We have to wrap it up. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Gary, thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary.
Gary.